So the 82 season, as longtime Atlantans will remember, is the great start, the 13-0 team that just found a way to win games one after another. There's some great highlights of you scoring, if not a winning run or a tying run against Cincinnati. What was the city like when you guys start putting together those wins, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0? Was it one of those, like, because again, Atlanta hadn't seen a winner since '69. Was it one of those sort of movie stories that everybody just jumped on board?
Well, I think it was kind of, the city was stirring, I guess is the best way you could do it. I remember Glenn Diamond, there was the long way to October. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was started right at the beginning of spring training. So, I think that then everybody had more of a personal relationship with the team and individuals on the club because of that documentary by Glenn Diamond and them. And so it kind of walked through the whole season. But early you could see it. You get momentum, and then something happens. There's a bad hop or something here. And I remember seeing an interview where Gibson had said to Joe Torre, if we don't win this thing, man, then something's wrong. It was kind of one of those things later on, I think in the second documentary. But again, there was a stir within the city that, wow, things are going our way now when it hadn't gone for so many years. It was exciting.
I'm going to ask you about some of the personalities on that team, but you went from 6 weeks with Bobby Cox in '81. Joe Torre becomes the manager in '82. Tell me about the differences in those two guys.
Bobby Cox was a player's manager. Bobby never threw you under the bus, ever. He wouldn't do it to the media. He really wouldn't do it to the front office. Now, if he had to scold you or he had to discipline you or he had to say something, he'd call you in his office like a man and tell you the way things are. You got to do this, you got to do that. But he never did it to the media, ever. And that was one thing that I admired about Bobby is he always backed his players, no matter what. And the players knew that. And so the players would do everything they could to do the best they could for Bobby because they knew that they were a direct reflection of his managing and what he was supposed to do. Joe, when Joe came in, Joe was a master at dealing with veterans. He was unbelievable. The kid, he would, I think, he'd take me or take the kid that was coming up because he still had to prove himself. But he believed in his veteran core. And so what he would do is he would kind of go to the veterans and say, listen, this is your team. I just kind of direct the orchestra, but this is your team. You guys discipline. You guys, call everybody to account of what needs to be done. And that's kind of how Joe went about it.
Talk to me about some of the personalities, starting with Dale Murphy, who at that time was building an MVP resume in '82. He'd win it again in '83. What was Murph like on a daily basis?
Murph is probably one of the few people in my life, let alone baseball players, that I ever heard anybody say anything negative about. He was a genuine man that cared about his family. He cared about his teammates. Back in the day, we used to be able to go around each other and say, hey, can I borrow your tickets? Can I borrow your tickets? If nobody was in town so that you were able to give your other friends and family. Murph never did that. Murph would just go up to Bill Akery and say, hey, Billy, I need 20 extra tickets, and here's my – he was the perfect example of how a man of character and a true superstar played with humility. He never said anything negative to anybody other than I think there was one time they were thinking about trying to put Bob Horner in left field. And Bob was out there taking some fly balls and, he looked at Dale and, Bobby had that big personality and he looked at Dale and he goes, hey, Dale, you can teach a monkey how to play the outfield. Just kind of playing around. And Murph just kind of looked at him and said, well, let's see if this monkey will tell you where the fence is when you get close to it. Just to try to make him laugh and all that. But that's how Dale was. And there's nobody that ever played with Dale Murphy that I would say would ever say a negative thing about him. He was just a class individual.
Well, you mentioned Bob Horner. Bob, supreme talent. You don't go from Arizona State to the bigs right away without just being that gifted. What was he like, not only as a player, but in the clubhouse and just to be around?
Well, he was a big personality. Remember, here I am at Arizona State, and I'm watching this guy play because I'm on the junior varsity. So there are times we can go over and play against him and stuff. But this guy, and I guess if I really had to look, his swing and Paul Molitor's swing is the shortest and quickest swing I think I've ever seen in baseball. But Bob had this uncanny calm about him at the plate, almost like he was half asleep. But he knew how to hit. Now, third base, it's a little different story. You know, if it was in with about a foot or so, Bobby, he'd catch it. But other than that, you know, but man, he could flat out hit. And, you know, it was one of those things that he played with a little bit of cockiness, a little bit of arrogance about him that a lot of people respected. So, I mean, he was big in the clubhouse and he was big on the field.
You guys that year, as I said, Brett, you get off to the 13-0 start. Then you have a stretch in the middle of the year where you lose 19 of 21 before rebounding to win the West. Is it Joe Torre? Is it a nice mix of veterans? How does that team go through that long period where things aren't going well to right the ship?
Well, and again, I think that's where Joe comes in and he calms the storm. He said, listen, we did it 13 in a row. Okay, and now what's going on? Let's get back to basics. Everybody go back, okay, internalize, know what your role is, know what you're supposed to do. You know, Brett, get on base. Hey, you know, Rafi or Hubby, you need to move them over. Bobby and Murph, you guys, and let's play. More than anything else was play solid defense. Okay, pitchers, first pitch strikes type of thing. Know what your job description is and then go out there and do it to the best of your ability. And the season is one that you win a third and you lose a third, okay, but champions are decided in that last third, and that's what we have to do now. Look where we're at. We started out here, now we're back to almost square one, but we know we've got the talent in this room to do it, and he was always one of those that would always look at half full instead of half empty, and that's what I admired about him.